Hello everybody and welcome back to Gaming on Caffeine. My name is Isaac and we are back for episode 3 of the CrackPack. Last episode we were working on setting up the automatic skeleton spawner slash grinder over here, as well as upgrading our power situation with these magmatic dynamos and these mechanism tanks, which we can fill up with lava from the nether. And what I've gone ahead and done since the end of last episode is made a couple more of these energy conduits and basically hooked all of my machines up to the lava power that we have set up down here. So now the conduits go all the way around the floor here, around the corner. They connect up to all of the heat generators, so we're still getting that extra 4 redstone flux per tick of power from all of these machines, but we're also connecting up to the alloy smelter and the sand mill to make sure that if we ever want to pulverize or smelt something, that it actually works and I don't have to come downstairs and move like these magma dynamos around and mess around with all that stuff. And what I want to work on in today's episode is setting up the auto spawner and another grinder for the enderman spawner that we're going to have down here that is going to allow us to automatically get ourselves a nice supply of ender pearls. And to do that, we of course need to start by crafting ourselves the auto spawner. So if we come over here into NEI and we type in auto spawner, to make this thing, it's fairly simple for the most part. It looks like a lot of other Mine Factory Reloaded recipes. We need 2 plastic sheets, we need a machine frame, we need a redstone reception coil. However, we also then need some nether wart, 2 magma creams, and 2 emeralds. Now, the nether wart shouldn't be too hard to get. It should just be a little bit of time in the nether, try and find some kind of nether fortress, and then get some nether wart from there. The magma creams are probably going to be the hardest to get, with the emeralds being the second hardest, and then the nether wart being the easiest. And so I'm going to start with the magma creams. Now, we have 2 options when it comes to magma creams. We can either go to the nether and try and search around until we find a magma cube, and then kill it and hope that we get a magma cream from it. However, from past experience, that doesn't work out all too well. It takes forever to actually find a magma cube, and then whenever I do, it doesn't drop a magma cream. And so instead, we are going to use the crafting recipe, which is a blaze powder, and then either a slime ball, a pink slime ball, gelatinous slime, congealed blood, or a ball of glue. We are going to use a normal slime ball because if you look at the minimap, just to the north there, I don't know actually if that is north, but just to the top of the minimap, there is a slime island. And so if we quickly fly up over here, we should be able to get some of these congealed slime blocks that the trees up here are made out of, and you can craft those directly into some slime balls, which we can then use for the magma cream. You don't usually see them like this. I'm wondering if someone's been around and like chopped down some of these slimy leaves, but you'll see normally they look like this. They have some congealed green slime, and if you grab it, you can simply craft it up into some slime balls. Like so. Nice. That made it super easy. All the rest of the ones are viable. For example, the congealed blood, you can just stand in the smeltery and that will generate blood into the smeltery, or you can drop mobs into the smeltery as well, and that will also generate some blood in the smeltery, which you can then pull out into a casting basin, and that will generate congealed blood, which you can also use to make the magma creams as well. But the second part of making the magma creams is the blaze powder. So again, we have a few options here. We could go to the nether, we could fight some blazes, we can get some blaze rods, and we could craft those up into some blaze powder. However, we could also, if we look at the recipe here, we can craft up cinder pearls. I did look around for any nearby deserts, because for those who don't know, cinder pearls are a plant that usually spawn in desert biomes, and you can pick them up and craft them directly into blaze powder. I couldn't find any nearby desert biomes, and the little patches of sand that I did find didn't have any cinder pearls on them, so I decided that that wasn't really a viable solution. But you can also infuse glowstone with destabilized redstone in a fluid transposer to get blaze powder as well. Now, this is a little bit more of an overly complicated way of getting blaze powder, because you can just go to the nether and fight some blazers, but it's a good long-term solution because it means that whenever we need more blaze powder, we don't have to keep trekking back and forth to the nether, especially when we don't have a nearby blaze spawner. I'm gonna have to go quite far out and try and find a blaze spawner in a nether fortress somewhere. Having the fluid transposer set up allows us to make as much blaze powder as we want by simply putting in some glowstone and some destabilized redstone, and saves us having to do that trip over and over and over again. And so what we're going to start with in today's episode is we're going to start by making a fluid transposer and a magma crucible. The fluid transposer is the machine that lets us actually turn the glowstone dust into blaze powder, and the magma crucible is the machine that allows us to craft up the destabilized redstone using normal pieces of redstone. So to make the fluid transposer, it's real easy stuff. It is 2 copper gears, 2 pieces of glass, another redstone reception coil, a basic machine frame, as well as a bucket. I did do a little bit more mining between episodes and a little bit more resource gathering. We have a little bit of glowstone that I got from the nether. We got a bit more redstone, redstone, quite a lot more ingots. I did go down and try and get a bunch more of all of the ores that we're going to need, and so getting all the stuff should be fairly easy. Let's grab some gold. We can use that for the redstone reception coils. The tin and the iron are going to be used for the machine frames, and the copper is, of course, going to be used for the 2 copper gears. I'm going to assume that there are 2 ways of crafting up. Yeah, there are 2 ways to craft up copper gears. There is the forestry way and then the thermal foundation way. I'm looking for the one that has iron in the middle instead of a stone gear, so we can easily craft 2 of those up like so. We can then also easily craft up 2 basic machine frames like that. Once we grab ourselves 2 more of those tin gears, we can then craft that up into 2 basic machine frames like that. 1 for the magma crucible and 1 for the fluid transposer. A bucket, super easy stuff. Glass, we already have. I did get some more sand, gravel, and clay and smelted up a bit of the sand into glass as well, just so we had it ready to craft up the stuff that we're going to use in today's episode. Then finally, we need the redstone reception coil. I think we're going to need another one of those for the magma crucible as well, so I'm going to make 2 of those. The fluid transposer is done, and then for the magma crucible, if we look at the recipe for this one, we need a leadstone energy cell frame, 2 nether brick, another basic machine frame, 2 invar gears, and the redstone reception coil again. So the hardest part about this is probably the nether brick, which is fairly easy to get, but it's one that you have to go to the nether to get, which makes it a little bit harder. However, I have gone ahead and got a bit of netherrack before the episode, and so if we grab 8 of those, we should be fairly easily able to just throw that into, I didn't want to do that, I wanted to put it in the alloy smelter. Let's quickly grab 1 more there. I'm not actually quite sure what happens when you pulverize netherrack. Did that? I don't quite know what happened to that. It looked like it just went back into the alloy smelter, I guess, but that's fine. That's going to smelt up into the nether brick, which we can then use to craft the nether brick. Do those have the same name? Nether brick and nether brick. Yeah, they do. Wow, okay, so we're going to use the nether brick to craft up the nether brick. Whilst we're waiting for that, we should be fairly easily able to craft up the leadstone energy cell. It is just a block of redstone with some lead and some glass, like so. We need some lead from over here. We're also going to need some invar as well to make those invar gears. I did smelt up a couple more invar ingots between episodes as well. So let's go ahead and grab 2 more of those. What are we missing now? We're just missing the nether brick, so we'll craft that up into nether brick, bring that back over, and we can go boom, boom, and boom. Nice. That gets us to the magma crucible, and so now what we can do is we can bring both of these machines downstairs. Because I put down all the new energy conduits, we now have just a nice line of energy conduits going over here, and so for the time being, I'm going to put most of my machines up against this wall like so. And so now that we've got both of these, the way this is going to work is the magma crucible is going to turn normal pieces of redstone into destabilized redstone, and if we go back to the recipe for the blaze powder here and go along to the fluid transposer, you'll see that we need 200 millibuckets worth of destabilized redstone and 1 glowstone dust to make 1 piece of blaze powder, as well as 4,000 redstone flux worth of power. And so the way that you do that is by putting in 2 pieces of redstone. Every 1 piece of redstone is equal to 100 millibuckets worth of destabilized redstone. And if we look over here in configuration, you'll see that blue is the input and orange is the output. And so what it's doing is it's automatically outputting to the left here. And if we go into the fluid transposer and look at this again, what we can do is we can set the right hand side here to the blue input. And what that's going to do is it's going to automatically move the destabilized redstone over from the magma crucible into the fluid transposer. And so now, if we were to come upstairs and grab a little bit of glowstone, we should be able to craft up our first few pieces of blaze powder. We're only going to need 2 for the time being. So let's come back over here. Let's put 2 more pieces of redstone into the magma crucible. That's going to be enough to grab 1 more piece of blaze powder. And if we throw 2 pieces of glowstone in there, that's going to slowly get infused with destabilized redstone and get us the blaze powder. Nice. So we can take that, we can craft that up with our slime balls. That's going to get us the magma cream, and that is probably the hardest part about making the auto spawner out of the way. So the next hardest bit is probably going to be the emeralds. However, we do have a village nearby, and so what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away real quick. I'm going to try and find a villager that is trading something reasonable for emeralds, like some paper, maybe some wheat, maybe some books, something like that. I'm going to try and find one that's selling something reasonable. I'm going to craft up those items. For some reason, all of the villagers have managed to fall down this hole here, and so we have like a nice collective of them down here, which is good for me because it means I can just right click on them and find out what they're trading real easy. And so yeah, this guy here is trading up 19 wheat for 1 emerald. So I'm gonna go away. I'm gonna try and get all the stuff we need to grab the 2 emeralds from these guys, and I'll be back in a second. And a little while later, I went back to my base, got some of the bones that we acquired from the skeleton spawner, used those to grow some more wheat, and now we can trade that wheat in for some emeralds, and now we've got both of those. All that we need in order to finish up the recipe for the auto spawner is the nether wart. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away again. I'm going to scour the nether to try and find a nether fortress, and then scour that nether fortress to try and find some nether wart, and I'll be back in a second. Also, whilst I'm here, actually, I'm going to kill this ghast as well, because we are going to need a gas tier for the reusable safari net that we're going to craft later on in today's episode, and thanks to the fact that we have the morph mod installed and we can fly in bat form, getting that gas tier is super easy, and yeah, I'm going to go away again and try and find that nether one. And again, a little while later, now that we have 18 nether wart, we can come back to our crafting station, and we now have everything that we need in order to craft the auto spawner. All we have to do is craft up another basic machine frame, quickly grab some gold for a final redstone reception coil, and we are pretty much good to go. So, if we go ahead and shift right click on the question mark, we get ourselves the auto spawner. Nice. So, now that we've got this, we're going to put it dead center in the middle of this room next to the skeleton spawner, and it's going to go right about there. Now, this does work in a 7x7 area, and so it might well end up spawning some endermen inside of this room over here, but it's not really too big of a deal if it does spawn the endermen in here. They will still be killed by this grinder, and their drops will still be put into this chest. It shouldn't really spawn any out further back. It might possibly spawn some in this room here. If it does, I might look at moving the auto spawner back a little bit, just so we don't end up with endermen just wandering around our base, and so that they do actually get killed by the grinder itself. They also shouldn't spawn behind this wall or this wall due to the fact that there is just nothing but stone behind them. And so now that we've got those, the next thing we need to do is craft ourselves a reusable safari net, because the way that this works is you put mob essence into this tank here, the internal tank within the auto spawner, you provide it with power, and then in this slot over here, you place a reusable safari net containing the mob that you wish to spawn. Essentially, the way that it works is you use the reusable safari net to capture the mobs, kind of Pokemon Pokeball style, and then you put that safari net into the auto spawner, and it will begin to spawn whichever mob you chose, granted that it has sufficient essence and sufficient power. So, what we need to do is we need to craft the reusable safari net and then grab an enderman inside of it. Now, to do this, we're going to need 4 ender pearls and 1 ghast tier. That's why I killed the ghast whilst we were in the nether. But, however, right now, we do not have 4 ender pearls. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to craft up the ender sword. This is the sword from Ender.io. And basically what this does is it increases the chance of getting ender pearls when you kill an enderman. So to make this, we need a normal stick and then 2 dark steel. Dark steel can be made in the alloy smelter with 1 iron ingot, 1 pulverized coal, and then 1 obsidian. So let's quickly grab 2 pulverized coal. Let's stick that into the sag mill. Whilst we're waiting for that, let's grab the obsidian and the iron, which is over here in this chest. We'll grab 2 of those. We'll put all of that stuff into here like that. Wait for that to smelt up into the 2 dark steel ingots. It is going to take a little bit of time because it requires 20,000 redstone flux in order to smelt. But once it is done, we can take both of those dark steel ingots, craft them up with a stick, and that will get us the ender sword. And so what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to go away. I'm going to try and find some endermen. I'm going to kill as many endermen as I can, try and get those 4 ender pearls that we need for the reusable safari net, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so quite a while later, I got some more ender pearls. I used those ender pearls to craft up the reusable safari net, and then I used that reusable safari net to capture an ender mini, not an enderman, because endermen are surprisingly hard to find in the overworld. I've spent a couple of Minecraft nights flying around in bat mode trying to find some endermen. I only just found the 2 that we needed in order to make the reusable safari net, and so I ended up capturing an ender mini, which is a mob from the Ender Zoo mod, which is essentially just a really small enderman, and for our purposes, when we kill it, we will get ender pearls, and so for now, it will work out just fine. Between episodes, I'll probably do a little bit more looking around, try and find an actual enderman, because next episode, I'm going to need some enderman heads, and to get those, I believe we do have to kill actual endermen with the ender sword. You can do it with a normal sword, but you have a higher chance of getting mob heads if you kill them with the ender sword, so I'll do that between episodes, but for now, we can put our ender mini into the auto spawner, and now if we hook this thing up with power and get the mob essence from the grinder round and into the auto spawner, it should start to spawn those. And I did go ahead and also make a second grinder whilst I was away, so we can stick that down right about there. And essentially, we're going to have the exact same setup that we have in here, but instead of having the skeleton spawner, we're going to use the auto spawner to spawn the ender minis. And so, what we're going to do right now is we need a couple of conduits. First of all, we need to run some energy conduits around and up up into the auto spawner here. Thankfully, we've got a few, but it doesn't look like we're quite going to have enough for this to actually work. We're one shy of being able to actually fill this thing up. We did manage to fill up the grinder, and we're also going to need some more of the fluid conduits as well to transfer the essence from the grinder round and through to the auto spawner. So, let's quickly grab our sand, gravel, and clay, and we'll use this to make a little bit more conduit binder here. We're also going to need some item conduits later on in today's episode as well. So I might as well just type in conduit, and for now, let's just go ahead and craft up a bunch of this conduit binder, and then we'll start smelting this up in the alloy smelter like so. And whilst we're waiting for that, we can get all the other items we need. Quite clear glass is super easy to make, as we did last episode. We can just grab our chisel and then use normal glass in the chisel to grab the quite clear glass like so. You can also smelt sand in the alloy smelter if you'd like. That would also get you some quite clear glass, but we can take our conduit binder and we can make some more of the fluid conduits like so, if I can get that to work correctly, with the glass in the middle like that. And now all we need to do is run this underneath from one grinder to the auto spawner, and what I'll probably also do is run a fluid conduit to this grinder as well, because when this grinder kills the Enderman, it will also produce more essence that we can then repipe round back into the auto spawner. Now, one of the really cool things about the Ender IO pipes that is not present in things like thermal expansion or thermodynamic pipes is that you can place multiple pipes within one block. So, for example, we can run both energy and fluid conduits simultaneously within the same block up into our auto spawner like so. And so over here inside the configuration tab, you want to make sure that we are on the fluid conduit, not the energy conduit, and we want to make sure that, again, redstone is set to ignored and it's set to extract. So that's going to pull out all of the essence out of there and send it round to the auto spawner. We're then going to do the exact same thing with this guy over here. So can I do that from here? Oh, I totally can. So we're going to run this around and along like so. Hopefully we'll have enough, and we totally do, to pipe that all the way around and into there. And again, we want to do the exact same thing here. It's going to be a bit trickier to do it over here because I kind of don't want to have to deal with those skeletons, and also I don't want to get stuck in those pipes there. But if we come under, yeah, I'm gonna have to break this, aren't I, real quick. If we come under, we should be able to quickly just kind of peek in here and make sure this is configured correctly. Again, extract and off. That should start pulling mob essence out. Let's just go ahead. I'll replace that with some stone later on down the line, but for now, let's just put this conduit back down here with the energy conduit, so you can go there and you can go there. This should now be filling up on mob essence. It is not. Where is that going wrong? It's making its way out of there, but then not through to there. Why is that? Okay, there we go. I'm not quite sure what that was, but I took the pipe off and put it back down, and it seems to be working just fine. So now if we come back over to here, you can see the mob essence is going all the way around and into the auto spawner. That doesn't seem to be filling up, which is not what it's supposed to be doing. Let me look at this again real quick and make sure that that is still configured correctly. It's not. We want that to extract. And so that should now, there we go, be pulling the mob essence out of there and sending it round to somewhere, but it's not ending up in here like it's supposed to. It looks like it's getting stopped here. Alright, so a little bit of tinkering around later, and I figured out why this is not working out, why the mob essence isn't getting pumped around and into the auto spawner, and that is because I completely forgot that the basic tier of fluid conduit from Ender IO works with gravity. If you look at the bottom there, it says fluid flow respects gravity, flow rate depends on fluid velocity, and so the fluid cannot go upwards here. Once it gets to this point, you'll see, if we look at this, it says 159 out of 250 millibuckets of essence is currently in this conduit, and if I put another conduit down here, it will transfer over to this one. If we right click like that, it will transfer over into here, but then as soon as I try and go up one like this and try and get into this pipe, it will not flow upwards, and so that's why it's not going into there. We could change this a little bit, and we could have like the pipe come out of the top and then go around and through into here, and that should work just fine. But what I'm going to do instead is make a couple of the pressurized fluid conduits, the next tier up of fluid conduit from Ender IO, which is made in a very similar way. It's some more conduit binder, but this time it requires some fused quartz glass instead of just normal glass. This is made by putting some normal nether quartz into the alloy smelter, and so what I did is I went to the nether, got some more nether quartz ore, and put that into the sag mill, because when you put nether quartz ore into the sag mill, you get 4 nether quartz. That then goes through into the alloy smelter, which smelts it up into the quartz glass, which puts it into here, and so now we have 4 fused quartz. We'll also grab 6 of this conduit binder, and now if we come back over to here, we should be able to craft those up like so, and I need one more piece of glass. I left one in here. Back over to the crafting station, and now we can craft one up like so. And now if we bring bring this downstairs, we don't have to replace all of our pipes with the pressurized pipe, only the last one that is actually moving the stuff upwards. We might have to replace this one as well, I'm not quite sure. But if we get rid of that and we put this here, and then right-click with the wrench there, is that going to connect? Oh, please tell me that it's going to connect. It might not connect. If we put that there, can I connect that up like that? I don't think that I can. Actually, I may have just lied. We might have to replace the entire thing with the new conduit. I was really hoping that wasn't the case, but yeah, it looks like those are not going to connect. Alright, so what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away. I'm going to have to go get some more nether quartz to make some more of this pressurized food conduit, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so now that I've replaced all of these cables with the new pressurized conduits, the mob essence can now go all the way around and actually ends up in the auto spawner where it belongs. And now, I did go ahead and make some more of the energy conduits, so all I need to do now is hook that up, and then it should start to spawn the enderminis. But, before I do that, I do want to make sure that we actually have the glass covering up the front there so that we do not get attacked by the enderminis instantly, because they are quite dangerous. So let's just go ahead and quickly fill up this wall with some more of this quite clear glass. And once that's pretty much done, I can get out through that hole. They shouldn't be able to get out through there. Now I can bring this along like so. And that should start to... Oh, I didn't quite get that last one on there because I shifted. But if we do that, that should now start the little idle tick there. And then once that's finished, it should start to spawn in some mobs. There we go, which should then get killed by the grinder. And then the grinder will occasionally spit out some stuff for us to take. So we are after our first ender pearl. That's what I'm wanting here. The grinder, by the way, does run through an idle tick. There is our first ender pearl. We also got an ender fragment. I got a few of these whilst I was killing concussion creepers out and about when I was looking for enderman. Essentially, what these ender fragments do is that you can craft them back up into ender pearls. So if I do something like this, I can craft another ender pearl. And now that we've got those, what I can do is we can bring along the ender pearls and smelt them together with an iron ingot in the alloy smelter. And that, if we can do it properly, is going to get us a vibrant alloy. I didn't want to do that with the ender pearl dust there. Let me quickly craft that back up into an ender pearl. I thought we could do that, but apparently we can't. Okay, well, I guess we've got a bunch of ender pearl dust now. Could we craft that back up if we have 9? We can, but we only got 8 from smelting. That's a little weird. But if you smelt together an iron ingot and an ender pearl, and we'll take some stuff out of here just to create a little bit of room, we should get a vibrant alloy. And the reason why I'm crafting that is because if we look at the recipe over here for the item conduit, it requires 6 conduit binder and 3 pulsating iron nuggets, which is what I meant when I said vibrant alloy. A vibrant alloy is something completely different. But we got ourselves some pulsating iron, and so now we can craft that into a pulsating iron nugget. And if we take 6 more of the conduit binder, we can then craft that all together to get us some of these item conduits, which we can now use to transport items around. And the reason why I've made this is because if we head on back down to our spawners here, we have a little bit of an issue, and that is that the chest over here is filling up. The one that the grinder is outputting to is filling up, and when the grinder cannot output the items that it gets from killing the mobs, the grinder stops working. And if the grinder stops working, it will stop producing mob essence, which means that the auto spawner will stop working, which means we'll stop our enderman production, which is not what we want. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a bit of a system here that allows us to keep the items that we want. In this case, I want to keep the arrows, and I want to keep the bones, and I want to get rid of everything else. I'm not really bothered about all of this armor. I'm not really bothered about the wooden swords. Everything else can be trashed, and that is exactly what we're going to do. And so now we're going to start by making ourselves a trash can, which is an item from extra utilities, which basically destroys anything that you put in it. If you put something in the trash can, it is gone. It just destroys it from the world. It's real easy to make. It is just 3 stone, 5 cobblestone, and a chest. Do we have any wood lying around? We do, so let's grab 2 of that. That's going to allow us to craft up the chest, and then the cobblestone we should have in abundance over in this chest on the end over here. So let's just grab 2 of those. We can then craft all that stuff up together to get the trash can, and then all I want to do is make 2 jabber barrels, which are like chests, but they can only hold 1 item, but they can hold up to 64 stacks of that 1 item, and these are made using 7 logs, 1 chest, and then 1 slab. So again, let's grab pretty much all of these, I guess. Also, we have a bunch of chests lying around in here, so let's grab 2 of those. Let's also grab 3 oak wood so I can craft that up into some slabs. And so we want to put the slabs at the top, the chests in the middle, and then the logs all around like so. And these are going to be used to store the bones and the arrows that we'd like to keep. So I'm going to put 1 of these either side of this first item conduit, so there and there. And then what I want to do is make sure that we put bones into one of them and then arrows into another, like so. And what you can do is you can shift right click on them to lock them. You'll see the little lock icon comes up there in the bottom right. That means that even if we take out all of the bones in the barrel, it will still say that only bones can go into the barrel. And so that means that nothing else is going to go in there. And if we set this to extract, if we right click on this guy and we'll set it to extract, again we want to set it to ignore redstone. And so now it should pull out all of the bones and all of the arrows and put them into their respective barrels over here. Once we change the item conduits on the barrels, we have to change these to insert like that. So insert and insert, and now it should pull all those out. You can see there are no more bones and no more arrows in here. And then finally we're going to put the trash can up on the top here. And the reason why I'm putting the trash can up here is because now it's further away, and so the way the conduits are going to work is they're going to try and put items into the nearest inventory. So it's going to pull all the items out of here, it's going to put the arrows and bones into this cache as long as those caches have space, and then everything else is going to go up and into the trash can over here if, again, we set that to insert. And so now all this stuff in the chest is just going to get thrown into the trash can, it's going to get destroyed, and that means that the grinder will now continuously work and should really never stop working, and should never stop producing mob essence and sending it around to the auto spawner. And actually, let me quickly throw that back down again because we're not getting any power from this magma dynamo over here, but we want to do the exact same thing with this over here. We don't have to do it to quite the extent just yet because we don't need the trash can, because all of the stuff that the ender minis are dropping we want to keep. We want to keep the ender pearls and we want to keep the ender fragments, but again this chest will eventually fill up, which means the grinder will stop working and we'll just get a bunch of ender minis spawned in that room and just clogging up the system and not doing anything. And so again, we want to make sure that we have some item conduits bringing those things out and up into some more barrels. So again, let's just fly back over here. We should be able to make those real easy. I'm not quite sure why that chest is still open. Little bit of server lag, but that's fine. And so again, exact same system. We're going to have one on the left for ender pearls and then one on the right for the ender pearl shards. So again, let's just grab those and then let's put one into there, lock it, one into there and lock it, and we'll make sure that both of these are set to insert. Those ender minis are extraordinarily loud, and so I'm just going to quickly turn down my mob sounds because geez, they are loud. And so essentially that's just going to increase the amount of storage that we have for storing the ender pearls and the ender shards. I'm not going to put a trash can on there just yet. If it gets a little bit crazy, I might just upgrade these so they can hold more stuff, and if it gets really crazy, I might put a trash can on there just to make sure that the system continues to work. But for the foreseeable future, I do not see us having 64 stacks of ender pearls or ender pearl shards, and so for now this system is working just fine. And what I'm going to basically do between episodes is just allow this to run until we have a nice amount of ender pearls. Like I said, I would like to find an actual enderman and try and get that into the auto spawner so we can kill it with our ender sword. And I can see one on the map actually real quick, so let me try this. I can see one there in the bottom left of the minimap. Hopefully it doesn't like despawn or die in the time it takes me to grab this. So I'm going to leave this guy down here. He shouldn't attack me. They are passive mobs by default. Unless you attack them, the ender minis will not attack back. But I would much prefer to have a normal enderman, and for once I can flip and see one on the minimap. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, here he is. Here he is. Bam! Okay, cool. So now we've got an enderman actually in our auto spawner, and so if we bring this guy back, we can now automatically spawn the actual enderman that we want. And again, what I'm going to do between episodes is try and kill as many of them as I can with my the ender sword here. I'll probably end up turning off the grinder for a period of time. You can just put a lever down next to the grinder, and that'll stop it from working because we do need to get some enderman heads. We might get some enderman heads just from the grinder here. The grinder might get lucky and get a few in this chest, but like I said, I'll leave that running. And the last thing that I want to do in today's episode is a little bit of prep for once we have a decent power source up and running, which is what we're going to work on in the next episode, and that is that I want to make a portal to the mining dimension. And the way that we do that is by crafting up a bunch of these portal frames, and we get those by crafting up some stone bricks with the mining multi-tool, which is made with some more stone bricks, a flint and steel, a stone pickaxe, and a stick. So, do we have some sticks in here? We do, but not quite enough. So, let me try crafting some more like that, and then we'll go ahead and grab some cobblestone. We'll use that cobblestone to make the cobblestone pickaxe. Flint and steel should be super easy to get. We can just grab some iron. We've already got some flint, so that is good to go. We can just put you there and then you anywhere. And that's a shapeless crafting recipe, and so works just fine. We've already got the stick. As for stone, we do already have some stone in here, so we can just grab 4 of that and craft that up into some stone bricks, and then we should be able to put those in at the top, put the pickaxe in the middle, put the stick at the bottom, the stick that is over here at the bottom. like that, and then put the flint and steel in the top. That gets us the mining multi-tool. We can then craft that up with the stone brick to get us some portal frames. We are going to need a couple more of those portal frames because the portal looks exactly like the nether portal. It takes the same shape. So let's go ahead and grab like 12 of those and again craft that back up with the multi-tool. The multi-tool does have a durability on it, but it's more than enough to craft all of the required portal frames to make the portal. And so now I think I'll probably end up putting it somewhere in here. Yeah, you know what? Let's put it... Ooh, we don't quite have much space down here. So you know what? Let's instead put it like right there, maybe. I want to put it on a wall that's an even number wide, but I don't think we have a wall that's an even number wide. I think they're all odd numbers wide, which is a little annoying. So I guess what I'm going to do, guys, let me quickly clear out space over here. And then we can fill out the portal frame just like we would with a normal nether portal, like so. I will cover that up, by the way, in the overworld with some dirt so that you can't see it just poking out on the surface there. And then once we finish like that, we can just right-click with the mining multi-tool. That makes the actual portal. And so now if we walk in, it says to go through the portal, you have to sneak. If we walk in and press shift, that's going to take us to the mining dimension. And essentially what this is just another dimension. It's a big flat open world. We are completely stuck, and so we died instantly. Hopefully that won't happen again. Actually, I'll leave more foam real quick so that we can actually maybe not die next time we do that. I don't know if that was the cause or if there's something like blocking our way, but essentially it's just a big flat mining world, and the whole purpose of it is to put down quarries and so that you don't like destroy the actual overworld, and so you don't just take up all the ores in the overworld for other people. There is a village in here, which is unusual. You don't usually see a village in these places, but what we'll do after we've got a decent amount of power up and running is we'll set up a quarry in this dimension and then pipe all of the stuff back into the overworld so that we can get a bunch of ores without actually having to go physically mine them ourselves. But with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode of the CrackPack there. Next episode, we're going to come back and we're going to work on putting all of these ender pearls to use. I have a pretty cool idea for a better power system that I want to set up. We're no longer going to have to go back and forth to the nether with these tanks every time that we want to get lava for the magmatic dynamos. I think it's going to be pretty cool. But again, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit like. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below and I will see you guys next time.